You know who made it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RickCast. It's episode 165 on a Friday night. An hour later than we usually go live, but I did a license to carry class today, and I just got too much. It ran too much together. I wasn't able to give you a good show, so I just pushed it back an hour, and it looks like it's actually okay as far as view wise. We're absolutely crushing it on X right now. We have over 200 people watching on X. And we have our normal bar rats assembling through the YouTube as well. If you want to be a bar rat, all you got to do is come hang out with us every night, 6 p.m. Central Time. But if the views are this good at 7, I may just push it back an hour. My bar rats, of course, I'm going to have to consult with in order before I do that. I don't want to just do that without the bar rats. It's kind of like council. It's a council of bar rats. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good night. You should have a good night because guess what? Your weekend is here. It is here, and you guys are ready to go. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun for you guys. We're gonna have as much fun as we can here on the show, and I think it will be good, especially with my bar rats. My bar rats all have fun with that, and it will help. You guys are gonna have to pick me up a little bit. I mean, I'm not exhausted, but kind of worn. Like everybody is, so it's not a huge deal. We're gonna have a good one. We are gonna talk about it's D-Day for Texas Democrats. It is absolutely supposed to be D-Day for them. They were supposed to be back by today. So what is Greg Abbott going to do? Right? What is he going to do? That's the question. That's the question. I mean, there's a couple things here and there that are going on, and I know Greg Abbott has filed a lawsuit. And so has Ken Paxton to say that these guys are not supposed to be here, but we'll get into that. There is an active shooter at Emory University, and we will talk about that and talk about the ridiculousness of gun-free zones and how they only leave those who are good, average citizens defenseless, and why you should be armed nowadays. And so we will talk about that as well. Apparently, Trump has given the okay to go after the cartels. He wants to use the U.S. military to go after the cartels, and I want to know from you, ladies and gentlemen, if that is a good or bad thing when we talk about the fact that the military potentially going in and launching operations in Mexico. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? That a lot of people are split on that issue. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We'll see how that goes. And then finally, we'll do some box office for the weekend. Couple new movies out. One that I seen, one I saw, and one I didn't see. I saw the movie Weapons. I have a review dropping tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time on RickCast Reviews. And then Freakier Friday, the not anticipated sequel to Freaky Friday, drops, and I figured that one can just be that. That one can just be there. I don't really have to worry about that. So we'll see how that goes here on RickCast. So do me a favor, if this is your first time hanging out with us, folks, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, help the show grow. And if you guys like, let me know in the comment section, YouTube, Rumble, everywhere. If you like the 7 p.m. time slot, I wouldn't mind pushing it back an hour. If you guys, if it means we could reach more people, see how it works in that regard. Either way, we're going to get after it. No warm-up stories tonight because we're going to get right into the Texas stuff because apparently people have been out of the loop when it comes to the Texas stuff. And it's been a 5-day process, to say the least. It's been a 5-day process through all of this. It started on Monday. Governor Abbott called a special session to formalize and codify into law the redistricting that has taken place here in Texas. And the Democrats, being the cowards that they are, they fled the state because they're big sad and they didn't want to be dealing with this. So they're moving out. They went to Illinois, they went to New York, and of course, they grandstanded about how brave they were, and they were doing this for people, even though they're doing it for their own selfish benefit. Surprising that they're politicians. Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton, other Republicans have been threatening the entire week. You got to be back here by Friday, or we're going to dock your pay, or we're going to start filing a lawsuit to remove you from your seat. And of course, the Democrats balked because they're children. They're petulant children. So they're not going to do, if they ran away in the first place, they're not going to come crawling back because you asked them to. They're just not going to do it. So we have this. Ken Paxton put out an opinion earlier in the week saying, hey, these people are not there. They give up their seat. They just give it up. It's too bad. So sad. Get out of here. So they're worrying about that. And now they are in the process. After that, Greg Abbott put in a petition to the Texas SCOTUS, pretty much asking, hey, is this can we go along with this? Can we remove them from their seat? And Texas SCOTUS was like, let's see what happens. Let's see if they come back first. And so, of course, lawsuits are dropping. But let's give you guys a bit of a little video here today, right now, talking about what is happening.
Today marks the third attempt for the Texas State House trying to convene since Democrats left the state 5 days ago. It's all an attempt to block redistricting that Democrats say put blacks and Latinos, those voters, at a disadvantage. And now Texas Republicans say they're doing whatever they can to get Democrats back to Austin. Our Joy Addison joining us live in the newsroom with more on those efforts. Joy?
Well, Lisa, today House Speaker Dustin Burrows says he's been working with the Department of Public Safety and other entities in other states like Illinois and California to locate and arrest the Democrats who left the state. He announced several new penalties. Burrows says these Democrats may no longer have their paychecks deposited electronically, as well as their per diems. They now have to pick them up in person in Austin. And 30% of their monthly budgets are now also unavailable. And absent members must now appear in person to request travel reimbursement. Salary increase requests and newsletter approvals must also happen in person, and their newsletters will be canceled without their in-person attendance. District 24 Representative Dr. Greg Bonin will also now file House Bill 3 for flood recovery and infrastructure funding. I spoke to some voters in District 137, and they feel duties are being neglected by the absence of these leaders, which include their Representative Gene Wu. Governor Abbott has filed a suit for his removal as he also serves as Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair.
It's just one issue. He is not doing business in any capacity for 137. So for him to do his work, he needs to be in Houston, in Austin. This is not just the only issue that's being voted on. There's a host of other issues that also need to be voted on. And you cannot be here.
And Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has launched an investigation into whether Beto O'Rourke's political group, Powered by the People, is breaking laws by funding Texas Democrats' out-of-state travel. Governors in California, New York, and Illinois have also threatened to redistrict their state to block Trump from having these 5 additional seats.
Hold on. That's kind of stupid because most of the Illinois, New York, and what was the other one? California, they're all heavily Democratic anyway. This is like me saying, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to be short. Yeah, well, I already am short. Or actually, a better idea would be like, if you don't stop that, I'm going to eat this entire cheese pizza and be fat still. Well, I already am fat, so that does nothing. Redistricting these seats does nothing. So, yeah, okay. Anyway.
Reporting from the newsroom, Joy Addison, please.
All right. So that's a quick update to that. It's interesting because Democrats usually control the narrative, and they usually will have their supporters saying, we support them for democracy. Blah. No, not this time. People are like, listen, you're a whiny little bitch, and I'm sorry if the language. You're a whiny little brat. Stop cowering under the fat of JB Pritzler and under the hangnails of Hateful Kate. Come back and do your job. Democrats think this is the idea, they think they're speaking for the people. Most people, if they miss 5 consecutive days of work without telling their boss why they're gone, they get the axe, they get the firing. They don't get this, we're going to dock your pay and we're going to slash your budgets. No, you get fired. Now, Briscoe Cain put in, there's a bill in the House and in the Senate that says if you miss either 5 or 7 consecutive work days, you lose your seat. That thing needs to be rammed through so this never happens again. That absolute, if you have 5 or 7 unexcused absences, you lose your seat. This is just ridiculous. It's one of these, it is voter suppression. Bellator is saying if they don't show back up to their jobs, just hold an emergency recall election. Well, here's the thing. I believe, and this was Tony Ortiz, he was on Timcast last night talking about this. If you remove people from their seats, then the quorum doesn't take impact anymore. There's some kind of like automatic kick in. But the second thing is, if you cut the head off of the snake, i.e. Gene Wu, if you remove him from his seat, everybody else is going to come crawling back. They need 12. They need 12 Democrats to cower coming back with their tail between their legs. And if you get rid of Wu, there's going to be a couple in some swing districts that are going to come running back saying, forget you people, I'm going back because I actually like my seat and I actually want to keep whatever little power I have. And Tony also said something very interesting, that the Democratic representatives are not as independently wealthy. See, here in the state of Texas, you only get like $500, $600 for the stipend per day or something like it's not a lot of money. And the Republican representatives are lawyers and real estate agents, independent wealthy people that have flexible jobs that they can take the however long off to go to the Capitol, as in Democrats are professional politicians. So this idea of them losing any kind of money is actually a good idea. I would like it to go one step further. Today is the day. They've been gone for 5 days. They should all lose their seats. 100%. You just stop. Full stop. Lose your seat. You're done. And I like the fact that Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott have filed suits at the Texas SCOTUS to declare these 13 House seats vacant. Right? It says the state of Texas brings this original proceedings for writ of quo warranto. Now we're getting into words that Rick can't pronounce, so buckle up. Respondents, 13 members of the Texas House of Representatives, have fled from the state with the intent to, and for the admitted purpose of, interfering with the operation of the legislature. That's what this is. Oh, we've done it before. Yeah. Breaking quorum, or the quorum idea, was just to have the idea of missing the quorum for political reasons was never in the cards. It was never supposed to be that. We did it back in like whatever under Rick Perry. Guess what? They did it under Rick Perry, and they still got the gerrymandering seats the Republicans wanted. So this is not a solid strategy going forward. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, where was I? Respondents have also willingly refused to return when the legislature has been convened by the governor, despite the Speaker of the House's issuance of warrants for their arrests. Because respondents have abandoned their offices as state representatives, the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, on behalf of the state, seeks to declare their positions vacant, and they should absolutely lose their seats. 100%. Because and I hate to play this whataboutism game, but it has to be stated at this point. For a fact, if this was happening in California or Illinois or New York or Massachusetts or Rhode Island, any state that had Rhode Island has one Republican representative, so that's a bad example. If this was happening in any state where Democrats had control and Republicans tried to do this, they would have already had their seats declared vacant. They already would have had them declared vacant, and they would have been kicked out. Because that's how Democrats roll. They play to win. Republicans, they're going through every legal measure. G-Money, unfortunately, they will get their full pay, but just with a little inconvenience. At this point, it's not about the inconvenience. It's about getting their lazy butts back to Austin so they can protest. Oh, we don't want to vote for it. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing about your quorum break. It doesn't matter. It's going through. You just have to be there so you can protest. Whether you're there or not, it's still happening. You're just delaying the inevitable, which is just absolutely mind-blowingly stupid. So, Texas Democrats are facing pressure to return as Republicans push for a quorum on key legislation. They're 12 Democratic legislators short, including redistricting and funding for flood victims, which could give Republicans 5 more House seats. It's going to give Republicans 5 more House seats. It's going to happen. House Speaker Destin Burrows announced the absentee lawmakers must collect paychecks in person, because here's the thing. Once they come in and collect in person G money, they're going to be arrested by the sergeant at arms and forced into the Capitol and told to take a seat, because they have warrants out for their arrest for shirking their duties. Attorney General Greg Paterson filed a lawsuit, which we just saw. The FBI is assisting in efforts to locate the missing lawmakers, while Governor Greg Abbott has vowed to continue pursuing the redistricting. The thing about, the special sessions. Oh, well, if it doesn't happen, there's only a couple more days. Greg Abbott will just convene another special session. It's not like, oh, well, I guess I won't do this anymore. I guess I won't convene any more special sessions, even though I'm the governor and I can convene them at my convenience. I can call for them whenever I want. But this is a good thing, I think. And this is, everybody's trying to impress Trump. As much as I've been dogging on Trump for the last week, everybody's trying to impress Trump. And Ken Paxton is trying to show his conservative bona fides as he's running against John Cornyn. And John Cornyn is, this is how well this is playing for Republicans. John Cornyn filed a countersuit or whatever, agreeing with the governor. So all the Republicans are on board. Greg Abbott, I have a feeling, is going to toss his hat into the 2028 presidential election, because he didn't get a job with Trump, which he was begging for that attorney general spot. Which, by the way, looking back on it, Greg Abbott as attorney general would have been a hell of a lot better than Law and Buddy Bondi. But everybody's trying to do whatever they can to show that they are conservative and they're fighting for you and blah, 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 which is great. I don't care if they're doing it to impress Trump. It benefits me in the end. And that's fine. Do what you got to do. I'm good with it. So, James, they won't have they'll return before they lose their seats. But the point is, all of this, they want them to come back. They need them to come back. It doesn't matter all this other stuff. Once they get in there, they'll sit their little butt in their seat. They'll cry, whine, throw around some rainbow flags or whatever, and the stuff gets pushed through anyway. That's all that matters. I don't care what they got to do. Get these losers back in their seat. Get them back in their seat. Get them back in there. And then get the measures through that we want. Texas Republicans want 5 more Texas House seats for the Republicans, so we can squash this notion that it's a purple state. Everybody who doesn't live in Texas wants to tell Texans it's a purple state until you actually live here and you realize that, yes, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, El Paso, they're blue, but there's a whole lot of people outside of those areas that are not. And we're doing everything we can to try and keep these people. Hopefully they go back. They can leave anytime. If you don't like how Texas operates, you can go to Illinois. You can go live there, right? Go live in Illinois. Go live in New York. Go back to California. You don't have to live here, by the way. Oh, I hate the Republic. Go away. Go to New Mexico. New Mexico's right there. Go there. You like the weather? Go live in New Mexico. I don't need you here. Bye. Bye, Felicia. I know, that's so cringy. I'm sorry. Anyway. So that's the update. It's D-Day for Texas Democrats. The lawsuits have been filed. Hopefully over the weekend, the Texas Supreme Court will come down and say, yep, their seats are all vacated. And once the seats are vacated, you don't need the quorum because those seats aren't filled. Once those seats are vacated, boom, you can go in because they need 12 seats. There's a reason why they said 13. There's more than 13 that are gone, but there's a reason they're focusing on these 13. Once they hit the 13, there's no need for a quorum. Boom. Now we can get on to business as usual. They can push through the Briscoe Kane bill that says, hey, if you miss 7 consecutive days without an absence, you're gone. And that will end this quorum BS forever. And I would like to see that happen. Politically, YouTube and X, I'd like to see them just absolutely take this to its logical conclusion and finally put Texas Democrats in their place. Put them in their place and stop them from what they're doing. Stop these whiny, crying babies who think they're big, they're more important than they really are. You're a politician. You're dirt. Even the politicians I like, they're not important. We give them way too much. We give them way too much credit. So that's what's going on here in Texas. That's the latest here on RickCast, where we'll keep an eye on it over the weekend, and then I will update you guys on Monday as to what is happening here in the beautiful Republic of Texas, where the stars at night are indeed big and bright. Clap, 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 deep in the heart of Texas. Anyway, so moving on, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Hanging out with us on this Friday evening, the 8th of August, 2024, the last couple days of my 43rd year around the sun. Sunday starts year 44 around the sun, so that'll be one more year being older. So we'll see how that goes, but it's all good. Every day above ground is a good day. So let's look at our second story of the night, which is an unfortunate story, but we are going to look at it. So this is police say active shooter near Emory University is dead with 1 officer injured. Now, we do have a little bit of video here that we can get to beforehand to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, of course. Because
today marks the third attempt.
Nope, I know that's the Democratic one. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. You'll get your new video. Here we go.
We're following breaking news out of Atlanta, Georgia, where Emory University is reporting an active shooter on its campus. Just moments ago, the university's Office of Critical Event Preparedness and Response sending out an alert to students that read, "Run, hide, fight, avoid the area." A shelter-in-place order has also been put in place. The Atlanta Police Department is currently responding to that scene. And you're looking at a live picture right now there in Atlanta. You can see an ambulance there positioned on that corner. I want to bring in ABC's contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett to talk more about this. Brad, thank you for joining us. This just happening. It's a fluid situation. What can you tell us about what you've seen and heard so far about this situation there at Emory University?
So, Stephanie, it's unclear about exactly where this is. There is one bulletin that was put out that talked about Emory Point, which is where a bunch of businesses are located. I don't know if that's on campus or next to the campus. Okay. Apparently it's very close to the CDC headquarters, but we're just not really sure where it is. So we're going to have more information, obviously.
Wow, buddy. Thank you for that clear and concise reporting that you gave us. I don't know where it is. What the hell are you doing on the actual newscast? What are you doing there? Live to this guy who doesn't know what the hell's going on. Oh, okay. Now, there were photos out of the CDC. Let me see if I can find them real quick. That showed that there were some effects of the actual shooting. Let's see here. It's right here. So this was from Andy Perotti, active shooter at the CDC. So this was a shooting at the CDC. You can see bullet holes in the windows of the Center for Disease Control, which is very interesting. I don't know about you, but I have a feeling that when this all shakes out, that this actually wasn't supposed to be at Emory. Because it says it was near Emory University. Mark, what do you got for an update? Throw it in the chat so we can be as accurate as possible. Now, the university issued a shelter-in-place alert telling people to run, hide, fight. I don't like that order. I don't agree with that training that people do. Now, I know a lot of people aren't fighters, and this is not. I wish I got to get my machismo meter back in here. women, and this is not true because there's a lot of women that conceal carry and they can put a bullet down. They can put a bullet in a hole right where they need to. But a lot of people, just a lot of men and women, they're not fighters. So I get why run, hide, fight is the issue. But the fact of the matter is, colleges, universities, federal buildings, and remember, both Emory University and the CDC, which is a federal building, both of those are gun-free zones. Federal buildings, regardless, across these United States, I think it's code 830, something like that. I actually just talked about it this afternoon. There's no guns allowed in any federal building anywhere here in these United States. So the CDC is left defenseless. So there's that. Colleges and universities here in Texas, it's a little different. Public colleges, UT, Texas A&M, University of Houston, University of North Texas, University of Texas, El Paso, they can limit where you can carry a gun, right? They can limit like the dorms and the library, but in the state of Texas, you have to have the sign posted at the building and you have to have it posted on the website. TCU, Baylor, SMU, Rice University, or University of Rice, whatever. Private colleges in the state of Texas can opt out for the entire campus to ban firearms. The thing about gun-free zones, at least in Texas, if anybody knows anything about how your state operates, drop it in the chat and let me know. The big thing around concealed carry and gun laws is something called the premise. And the premise is the building. So Emory University or the CDC, so much for these kinds of things. The premise is the gun-free zone. The sidewalks, the driveways, the parking lots, those don't count. Yeah, Bellator, that's what I'm getting at. So the idea that these gun-free zones exist leave people in danger. They leave people in danger because they're not allowed to protect themselves. I always make this point when we talk about, I made this point when there was that shooting at Michigan State University a couple years back. Campuses, college campuses are these massive, massive pieces of land. They have this huge, expansive territory. And campus police, I tend to think, they're doing their job. I don't think anything less of campus police, but they're like your regular police. I don't know about campus police, but regular police don't have a duty to protect you. But it's very hard to cover an expansive area like a college campus effectively. That's why you allow people to conceal carry, not because they don't trust police officers, even though, like I said, look up Winnebago versus DeShaney. That will tell you that the police have no right to protect you under the 14th Amendment. The SCOTUS ruled on that in the 80s. But I don't know where my train of thought is. Oh, if you conceal carry, you are able to take immediate action. And the fact of the matter is, these people are being just sent out to essentially be lambs to a slaughter if there is an active shooter, because that person is operating in a gun-free zone. And they are not allowed to defend themselves. And it's terrible that they are not allowed to do so. So are you telling me, is it confirmed? Are you confirming that that he was now we have, so I'm not going to talk about the active shooter's official name until Monday when we get information in, because unless you give me some kind of source, Mark, then I can't run with that. I may agree with you theoretically that maybe a guy who has a vax injury and his initial target was the CDC and then he just turned to Emory University because it was a closer environment. Because maybe this guy was targeting the CDC, realized that it has, because I'm sure they have some kind of police presence at the CDC. And once he realized that was not a soft target, he went to the soft target of Emory. That's what I'm looking for. Multiple agencies, including the FBI Atlanta, who arrived amid massive police presence, witness describing sounds like fireworks. That's gunshots. One Atlanta police officer was injured, transported to Emory University, where he later died. So eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. Amen. Mark, please don't answer in one-word sentences. Do you have a source? And if you have a source, please drop it in the chat. I love you, Mark. You're a bar rat, and you're fantastic. but you're not helping me. You're leaving me out on a limb here with the one-word answers. Drop the link in the chat and help me out. Authorities lifted the shelter-in-place order at 6:30 p.m., but continued to advise avoiding the area. So this is just another example of people being left defenseless with a gun-free zone. People being left out of the loop, not able to protect themselves. And I think really, honestly, I think, well, you also run into a problem on college campuses as well. The problem is you got 18, 19-year-olds. 18, 19, and 20-year-olds on college campuses. Duh, right? Well, what a shocker. Federal law says anybody under the age of 21, and it's a stupid law, anybody under the age of 21 is not allowed to own a handgun. That's a federal law. Can't do anything about it. Even though there have been constitutional challenges saying that, and there have been judges that have ruled that, hey, banning 18-year-olds from owning handguns, that's unconstitutional. If you can give them a handgun and send them off to war, if they can pay taxes and be tried as an adult, yeah, they should be allowed to own a Glock 17. But the fact of the matter is 18, 19, and 20-year-olds cannot own handguns. So it's really hard for those people to be armed. I think especially females should be allowed to have firearms on campuses in case they're studying late and all these other kinds of things. But this gun-free zone nonsense, especially nowadays, it feels like it just feels like violence is increasing. Maybe that's a result of the internet and social media and everybody feeling as if every single time things are happening. But nowadays, people feel more unsettled. People feel more desperate. People feel more hopeless. And so now we're seeing what seems to be a rash of shootings and mass casualty events. There's a bunch of people that are saying, a bunch of anonymous accounts that are starting to share the name of this person. Okay. Here's something that I just learned. Did you know that the CDC headquarters is on Emory's campus? I did not know that. So the CDC is apparently headquartered on Emory University's campus. So it looks like that the CDC was probably the target of this attack. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I think it is. This is just speculation on my part, but I think that the CDC was the target of this attack by this shooter. We won't know more until Monday when we reconvene here on RickCast, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen. In Iowa, the police can just ask you to leave from a private gun-free zone. They can do that here in Texas too. Trust the science, bro. It may be somebody, maybe a college student that's suffering. Did you like Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband just died of turbo cancer at the age of 48? I don't know about you. We may have to cover this on Monday, but the rash of turbo cancers that are happening now, is just scary. If you got vaxxed, you have to be losing your friggin' mind. The amount of people there was this lady from The Walking Dead, speaking of the CDC, a 33-year-old actress who was working on The Walking Dead. She died earlier this week of cancer. It's just nuts. So as these rash of turbo cancers, this is all speculation, by the way. I'm just talking out of my head. So take it with an Empire State sized grain of salt. As people are getting these turbo cancers and these sicknesses from the agencies that they trusted, right? Yeah, if I can get Fauci on next week, we'll see if that happens. That's exactly what I'm getting at, Bellator. We're seeing that. Do y'all think Mark is just trolling me? I love you, Mark. I asked you to drop the link, and he just says Newsweek. What does that mean? I love you, dude. That's fantastic. That's so good. Now that I looked it up, I will give Mark a huge shout out for helping me find this, because I did find it. So this is what we're seeing. Check this out. Thank you, Mark. From Newsweek, Police believe CDC shooter COVID vaccine. This was just dropped 15 minutes ago. The shooter at the deadly gunfire near the center on Friday thought he was sick from enforcement sources told CNN, and police are operating under this theory. Emory University issued an alert around 5 p.m. warning the active shooter. We already did the run hide fight. He was at the campus CVS. Atlanta Police Chief Shanabrummer told people during news conference the shooter was struck dead. Let's see. Hello, Liam Neeson. CNN reports the police are operating under the theory regarding the reported COVID vaccine after speaking with the shooter's family Friday night. You can't drop a link in the chat? Oh, well, then I apologize, Mark. Thank you for helping me get to the site then. Mea culpa, mea max culpa. So yeah, so is the internet starting to be sluggy about the vax. Anyway, I'll keep talking about it. You have a rash of. You had the actress from The Walking Dead die. You had Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband die this week, both of turbo cancers. This kid, I don't know how old he was. He probably got every jab that was out there. He's probably sick from it. The retaliation is going to be swift. Imagine you're 19 years old and you have some kind of sickness or cancer. You were fine 3 years ago. Now you have it. Scott Adams has cancer, and he absolutely thinks it's related to the jib jab. So it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I think this is the working theory. I believe this is the theory that's going to go through with this. I absolutely believe this kid probably thought, and I would say deservedly so. He's coming down with a sickness based on a rushed mRNA vaccine. That's whew. If you got jabbed, you have to feel just absolutely terrible about all this. Luckily, I didn't get jabbed. So I don't regret it. I don't regret not getting it. I don't know anybody that isn't. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mark, for the shout out. I'm sorry that I didn't know that you couldn't drop a link in the chat. We got it, though. This is the most updated thing right here. Police believe the CDC shooter, and it was CDC. The CDC was the target of this attack because the CDC is on the Emory campus. So that's what it looks like. And it's kind of funny. My view count also just stopped as soon as I started talking about the jab. It was like, oh, it's 292, 295, and that's it. You're capped. That's okay. I don't mind because if your internet connection is slow, you can always go watch me on Getter. Getter doesn't have this the view count slowed. Yeah, imagine you got turbo cancer because you wanted fries from de Blasio, right? Wasn't that Governor de Blasio? This is actually the anniversary of de Blasio doing that. I don't know if y'all know that. This is the anniversary of de Blasio doing the whole like, oh, if you want these fries, you want this burger, and it's like, okay. So it is what it is. Congratulations, Lou. Let's see. Lou is a moderator. Yay! Everybody congratulate Lou. She's a moderator for me. If you want to be a moderator for me as well, let me know. So because she just put in the chat, Lou's like, oh, only moderators can provide links. Well, guess what, Lou? You're my moderator now. Congratulations, you have the job. Best of luck to you. That's also something very interesting. This week, Trump came out and said, Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest things in history. I think that's going to be a very negative thing going forward. So, hey, anybody else want to be a moderator? I'll make you a moderator too. What? Hey, if you didn't want the job, you shouldn't have said anything. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Yeah, it is a stain on Trump's first term as the vax. It was a fatal flaw. I actually, this is gonna be a hot take, but I don't blame Trump 100%, because he didn't know what he was doing. I blame him now because he's doubling down on it because his pride is too much. Because his pride is just way too much. And it's just whatever the case may be. I'm just gonna make pretty much, how many people can I make moderators? Because I might just make all y'all moderators. Yeah, I might make y'all moderators. I don't care. Anyway, so yeah, well, don't worry. Next time Stephanie comes in, Lou, you can just ban her. Don't worry. I gave Michael Thomas the keys to the kingdom too. So congratulations, Michael Thomas. You're one as well. So sorry. Oh, love it. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help the show grow. Is your name blue yet? I don't know. You got to be like, oh, is your name blue yet? I don't know. Do you want to be one? I don't care. I have no problem handing out moderators. I got more moderators than actual chatters, so it's kind of a funny thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. I'll stop being a foolishness, and we'll get to our next story here on RickCast. What are we lining up here? 1 and 2. Okay, yeah. Next story up, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome, Michael. I don't know if you're serious or not, but the job is yours. Next up here on RickCast. So Trump. Let me just introduce. Let me get the.
We're following.
Let me get the video loaded, and that'll help with everything else. Let's see here, and go, Trump.
You're saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartels. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. Absolutely. Because they are horrible people that have been killing people left and right, they've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000.
Whatever you think about Trump, it's hysterical. He's like, you think I'm going to tell you? You know what? I'll tell you. It's like, what are you doing? Just tell him. You think I'm going to tell you? Actually, yes, I am. Let me go back.
I'm going to answer that question.
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. Absolutely. Because they are horrible people that have been killing people left and right, they've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They're bad news. Yeah, that's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil. And, we had 300,000 people die last year from fentanyl and all of that. We had millions of people brought into this country that shouldn't be here. The cartels brought them in. So if she said that I offered to do that, she's 100% right.
Are you disappointed that she denied that request when she doesn't want?
Well, she's so afraid of the cartel she can't walk, so that's the reason. And I think she's a lovely woman. But the president of Mexico is a lovely woman. But she is so afraid of the cartels that she can't even think.
So, I mean, you might have a good point on that. Mexico's president denies U.S. will use military in her country. Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum firmly denied that the U.S. troops will enter Mexico to fight the drug cartels amid reports of a secret Pentagon order. The denial followed a New York Times report that the president signed a secret order allowing direct U.S. military operations against cartels on foreign soil, causing concern in Mexico. President Sheinbaum stated her government has clearly informed the U.S. that no military intervention is permitted on Mexican territory, emphasized continued cooperation without invasion. Sheinbaum firmly dismissed any possibility of allowing U.S. military forces on Mexican soil, stating that while cooperation and information exchanges are possible, the deployment of U.S. Army within Mexico's borders is completely unacceptable. She might just be saying this to cover her own butt. I don't know how I feel about sending military personnel into Mexico to quote unquote go, to quote fight these guys and fight the cartel. I don't know about that, because the cartel is like water. First of all, they're very entrenched here in these United States, so it's a little weird to go fight them over there when they're already over here. I don't know, Joe Dolio, who I've interviewed, and I have all of his books right there. He talks about the fact that there are already established routes for the cartel. They're already established all over the place. So, yeah, Michael, Sheinbaum. Anyway, the situation highlights strained U.S.-Mexico relations, where possible unilateral U.S. military action risks undermining long-standing trust. Listen. Yeah, no. Anyway, here's what Marco Rubio has to say about it.
You're saying that
That's Trump. Hold on. We're just loading them up one at a time tonight because I wasn't able to prep because, yeah.
We cannot continue to just treat these guys as local street gangs. Mm-hmm. They have weaponry that looks like what terrorists, in some cases, armies have. They control territory in many cases. Those cartels extend from the Maduro regime in Venezuela, which is not a legitimate government. We don't recognize the Maduro regime as legitimate. It is a criminal enterprise, all the way to the various different cartels that operate in Mexico. And in between, you find them in Ecuador, you find them in Guatemala, you find TDA, what people would call street gangs, but actually are operating as criminal enterprises, but very well organized ones. So what it changes is it gives us legal authorities to target them in ways you can't do if they're just a bunch of criminals. It's no longer a law enforcement issue. It becomes a national security.
So, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? I know, the military LARPers on X are like, yeah, let's go, America, blank, yeah, woo. And anybody who's actually had U.S. military experience is like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we can drop a bunker buster on her G Money. I don't think we could drop buster bunkers into the middle of Mexico. Of course, the whole situation in Mexico has been deteriorating ever since the Cristero War, where, the U.S. intervened against the Catholics and turned the country into what it is today. Just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. It's a fact. But yes, that is the order. We'll see how that goes throughout the weekend. I don't really know if it's going to go anywhere because Trump's saying I may do it. Maybe they've already signed it. Maybe she's just making this public to cover her own self. Right? Out of all the concerns we have, Mexico is pretty low. I mean, the idea is secure the border and root them out from the U.S., right? Root them out from the U.S. Why go into yet another? I mean, it's what the U.S. does. I get it. I get it. So the U.S. invades countries, as George Carlin said, especially if they're full of brown people. You better watch out. So Mexico may not be really like on board with letting the U.S. in because we all know how that turns out. But the military industrial complex bros are just so excited about the concept of going after the cartel because it's more blood and death. And there's just so many people in these United States that just have an absolute, they get their rocks off by military involvement. So yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. You're right. You're right, James. Go after the money. Go after the money. That's a smart way to do it. If you see the movie, you know what? If you have a movie you want to watch this weekend, watch Sicario. Watch one of my top 10 films of all time, Sicario. It's an amazing film. If you've never seen it, it's awesome. With Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin. I can't believe I'm forgetting the third guy, but they're all amazing. So it's one of those things that's interesting. How much does number 4 get in the way of that without warrants? Because it protects the good guys and the bad guys. But I get it. I don't know. Sorry, there's a whole host of legal questions that go about this as well. Now that you're entertaining the idea of going after that, and the thing is too, I think Americans are kind of being way too gung ho on going after cartels. They're serious. They're serious, man. I'm not trying to say it, but if you've lived in Texas or you've lived in a border state, you've heard the stories of the cartel. They are not to be trifled with, um, in a lot of ways. I'm just saying in that regard. So we'll see how this goes, considering she is not a fan of it. And if I was the president of Mexico, I probably wouldn't be a fan of it either, just because of the potential outcome that could happen with any kind of military involvement in her country. But we'll see how it goes from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our final story of the night. Excuse me, here on RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. Is it going to do what it does? I don't like it when it does that. Help the show grow. I would appreciate that. Thank you all for hanging out with me on this beautiful Friday, the 8th of August, 2025. And let's get to the final story. Friday weekend preview, Freakier Friday, because there actually is an original movie out in theaters. We'll talk about that in a second. Looks to win the weekend. So there are two new movies out this weekend, Freakier Friday and Weapons. Freakier Friday, it's the sequel to the uninspired reboot of the previous movie, Freaky Friday. They're looking to bring in somewhere between 35 to 45 million. That's probably going to come in on the lower end. I think it's going to come in around 35 to 40, right in the middle. There's not a lot of buzz around this film. This film also has a very interested audience. And I don't know if this audience really cares to go out to the theater to watch it. These numbers feel like pre-COVID numbers. These numbers feel like pre-COVID. Like, oh, it opened up to 45 million. I think in a post-COVID era, in the film landscape, I don't think that's as much of a factor as we think. People just don't go to movies. The audience that this is intended for doesn't really go out to movies as much as they used to. So I don't know if this is really something that would happen. Don't worry, Catholic Jedi. I know. I don't think you and I don't think we're the intended audience for Freaky Friday or Freakier Friday. So we'll see. Also, Fantastic Four is not doing well, but that's going to cut into its own business. Naked Gun is also a comedy, kind of lighthearted PG-13 movie. There's a lot of those films out there right now that I don't know, just being a brand new film could really lead this to actually coming up. Yes, Bellator, we covered the fact that Resurrection of the Christ is coming out twice. We covered it Wednesday when it came out. It's a very interesting thing. Go take a look at the show. I think it was Wednesday. And we broke the whole thing down. So Freakier Friday, they're saying, what is it again? 35 to 45 million. I'm going to make a prediction. It comes in at 30. I don't think it comes in at anything else but 30. Because they thought the Naked Gun was going to come in with 25. Remember, they said the same thing with Naked Gun, and that came in at 16. So if trends go, I could see Freakier Friday doing between 25 to 30 million. And so we'll see how that goes. This could be the spoiler right here, the movie Weapons. I was on it. My full review will come out tomorrow. I actually think this one will hit 30 million. I actually think Weapons might win the weekend. There's a lot of buzz around it. Horror movies, for some reason, tend to do well in the summer, this time of year, going into the fall, even though it's 1,000 degrees out now. But this film, an original film from Zach Kreger, might have more buzz coming around it. So I think this movie might actually win the weekend, depending on how many people, because it's getting positive reviews everywhere besides me. So we'll see how it does. We'll see how it does in that regard. No, Weapons is just a horror. It's like a thriller. It's a suspense thriller. It's got some horror elements in it. For Catholics, I wouldn't recommend it. The Lord's name in vain is taken way too many times. There's an intimacy scene that's, every intimacy scene is unnecessary, and this one just adds to that. It came in, and I'm like, yeah, this is stupid. So it's actually not a recommend unless you have something like VidAngel. Then yeah, I would absolutely watch it on streaming with VidAngel. Without VidAngel, I wouldn't watch it. But the normal movie-going audience, I could see them responding really well to Weapons, and I could see it making, on the higher end, $30+ million. In fact, I'm going to make the prediction now that I think it actually will win the weekend. I think Freakier Friday is counting on way too much nostalgia, and I don't think that nostalgia is there. The nostalgia bait is not as hard. It's not as much of a sell as it was a year or 2 years ago. So we have that. And then Fantastic Four looks to come in number 3, between 15 to 20. I'm saying this thing's probably going to hit 15 million because this movie is dropping like a rock. It is dropping like a rock. So that's I don't think it's the market. The prediction market still wants to try and like push Fantastic Four across the finish line, because it's a Marvel project and there's a lot of places that are kind of being told to promote and push Fantastic Four, but I don't see Fantastic Four doing well. It dropped 67% in the second week. I could see that drop continuing pretty consistently. I'm going to say it's going to make maybe 15. All right, so my predictions for this weekend will be Weapons at 32 million, number 1, Freaky Friday, number 2, somewhere around 30 million. Maybe even like a 31-30. Weapons making 31, Freakier Friday making 30. I think Weapons wins, and then I think Fantastic Four comes in with 15 million. Maybe 15 million if they're lucky. I don't see Fantastic Four rebounding because it's dropping like a rock right now. So we'll see how that goes in that regard. Yeah, that's the thing, Michael. The nostalgia bait thing for Freakier Friday can't work because it's too expensive. Weapons, the horror fans come out for horror films, unless it's Megan 2.0. Horror fans come out for horror films. And so we'll see. That's why I see it doing actually a lot better, because it has an audience. Freakier Friday doesn't have an audience. It's just kind of a rehash for the Disney kids, and the Disney kids are not coming out to see films. So I don't think that's going to be the push it means. August is a hard month for anticipated films because it's the end of the summer. A lot of people were looking forward to The Naked Gun, and that did okay for what it was. The audience was overall positive for it. I guess if you saw the first Nobody film, there's Nobody 2 is coming out next week, which once again I would have called it Nobody Ever Asks, but we don't have cinema scores on these either. Okay, never mind. I wanted to see the cinema scores. We'll see the cinema scores on Monday for the new releases this weekend. It did make, you're right. The most anticipated ones are usually dropped the first weekend in August. Guardians of the Galaxy, Signs, all those movies were dropped the first weekend of August, and they did reasonably well. Anything after the first weekend, it's not like January where they just jettison whatever cannon fodder they have left. But they're like, Nobody 2 is a pretty inexpensive film, so they think that's going to do something. I'll have a review on Nobody 2 next week. And then as Nobody's actually not a bad film. Nobody is not a it's made by the same production company that made John Wick, the John Wick films. And I highly recommend Nobody. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun action comedy it's just a fun action movie. It's a classic like 80s, 90s action film. So my movie recommendations for the weekend are Sicario and Nobody. Nobody 2 comes out next week, but there's nothing really anticipated until September, maybe. And the only reason September is because the horror movies kind of start to go forward. Use it for something else. Well, I mean, Box Office Pro is pretty good on that. We've used Box Office Mojo here many times. We use it the weekend after. But yeah, I lost. Which with Nobody's an action film, so you might like that if you're looking for an action movie. But we'll see. You're not a big comedy fan, Catholic Jedi? You don't like to laugh? You're somber all day? It's okay. You're stoic. I like it. You're very stoic, and I think that's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode of RickCast on this wonderful August 8th, 2025. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Do me a favor on the way out. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. You can hear it. My voice is starting to kind of crack out here. So I'm gonna retire and hang out with the wife for a little bit because she got home. And I will talk to y'all on Monday. Do me a favor, be good this weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Be safe. I know you guys. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.